All right, guys, welcome back. Sorry, I had a little audio issue. The microphone wasn't recording the first little part of this video, so I'm just going to do a little voiceover. This is an Xbox One S Disc Edition. The ad on eBay listed that it had no display, but it did power up. I inspected the HDMI port, and it was stretched out pretty good. So I'm hoping that's all it is. Be a quick HDMI port swap and get this thing back to life. You can see here, I turn it on, it stays on. We did all that kind of testing. And also, guys, if you're liking these videos and if you find them helpful or entertaining or anything, hit the subscribe button for me. It helped get the channel a little bit more. Help spread it a little bit faster. Sorry about the technical difficulties we're having here. So looking at the HDMI port, you can see that it's all stretched out right here. When you plug in the the HDMI cable, it's very loose. Everything else looks okay on here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this port, and then we'll swap it out and see what happens. We're going to come right in with some flux and some wick. Clean these pads up. We're going to use the solder sucker on these through holes, so we're just focusing on the pads here. Pads all look good. I'm going to add some leaded solder to these holes just to help it come out a little bit easier. We're going to clean up the area a little bit so we don't gunk up our solder sucker. All right, that should be fine. We're going to get the new port prepped. So we're just going to add a little bit of flux to the pins here. I like to tin these ahead of time. I need to open a new thing of flux. This one is just about out to squeeze it really hard. Put a little bit of flux on there. If you tin these pins before, it helps when you drop it on the pads. There we go. Make sure that we don't have any bridges, right? If you do end up with some bridges on these pins, you can just add a little bit more flux to that area, hit it with the soldering iron, and it should clear them up. Sometimes you got to do it a couple of times. I'm just hanging this off of my bench. so I can apply heat from underneath. So I'm going to do the drop method on this. So we're going to go ahead and apply some solder to the pads. We're going to fill these holes up with solder, heat from underneath, and then once it's molten, once the through holes are molten, then we'll drop the port on. And it's important when you do this that you keep the port kind of near the area where the heat is, so that way when you drop this port on, the metal of the legs is not super cold. That'll help that solder work its way up the legs to make sure that you get a good solid connection. So first thing we'll do, we'll go ahead and get these filled up. All right, a quick clean. I'm going to apply just a very small amount of flux onto the pads here. We'll spread it out with a Q-tip, and this will just help the solder flow. Okay. And then back onto the heat. I'm at 480 degrees, 100% airflow, and we're going to come from underneath the board. We're going to make sure that we have our port in our hand, ready to go, ready to drop on there. And we want to kind of keep the port in this area as well and let it catch a little bit of heat. It's not going to hurt it. If anything, it does help the legs grab a hold to the solder. Come in and we're going to check these pins real quick. We're just going to clean it, get a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Okay, all the pins appear to be soldered well. We're going to clean up the back. We're going to put this back together just enough to test. I will be reapplying the thermal paste once we're all done, but there's no sense in wasting it just in case we got to take this all apart again anyway, so we'll do that at the end. The fan is spinning. And it looks like we have no video. So we're going to check this port one more time. We're going to check some diode readings on it as well, just to make sure that, we might have another issue somewhere else. It's really odd. I mean, this port was clearly bad. we're going to go over a couple of these pins just with the soldering iron. So we'll flex that up a little bit, get my iron heated up. All right, so we're gonna put it back together enough to test again. I'm gonna leave the disk drive out this time just because just want to know if we're gonna get some video. I was fairly confident last time. It was hard to tell if those pins were moving or not because the whole board kind of flexes whenever you push on it. So it's a little bit difficult to tell. If I can get this thing plugged in, there we go. All right. HDMI and power. Get our front board on. Let's see. All right, here we go. Fan spins up. Okay guys, so the second time it also did not have video. I went ahead and swapped out the hard drive. I don't know if that's what the problem is. I seem to be having some issues with my capture card here. So I've been swapping HDMI cables around and stuff like that. I'm gonna give it one more shot. It does work. I am able to get video out of it, but for some reason my capture card is not cooperating today. So let's see what happens. See if we get anything. Okay, there we go. Yeah, my capture card was acting up. So I am going to try the original hard drive again. This one here. It's a 500 gig, I believe. Yeah, it's a 500 gig. Actually, usually what I've been doing is I upgrade these to a 1 terabyte. I have some 1 terabyte drives here, so I'll most likely just go ahead and do that. But it does work. Obviously, it's saying that it has an error because there's no OSU 1 is not installed on this hard drive. But I will get that installed, and then we'll get this thing reassembled and tested. So I'll go ahead and do this on camera. I've never done this before on camera. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to do a lot of fast forwarding through this. If you've stayed this long, I do appreciate it. But we're going to go ahead and install OSU 1 on here. I might have to have the disk drive installed though. So let me just do that real quick. So I have the 1 terabyte drive installed here. I have a USB over here with OSU 1 on it. Okay. We're going to troubleshoot. We'll plug in the USB drive with OSU 1 on it. I think this is the one that has it on there. Could be wrong. Let's try the one that's labeled OSU 1, yeah? Okay, so now the offline system update comes up. We'll click that and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it goes through. I did have a bad, I had a bad OSU 1, a corrupt thumb drive, and I'm hoping it's not this one. If it is, I'll cut all this out and then I'll download it again and we'll do this all over again. All right, guys, so that's it. It is fully installed. Didn't have any issues. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. I have a couple of some newer consoles. We're going with the Series X and a PlayStation 5. I've never worked on a PlayStation 5, so it ought to be interesting. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.